Now what does that Havdalah do? The last stage is always an intermediate stage in order to now give you the power to convert or to realize the purpose. Once more, here for Hashem, the Havdalah is that everything is purposeful, that there's a purpose behind it, but the purpose is not yet realized. It's just that I did it for a good reason. I did it lishma. Hashem says. First I said, I did it in Avera, Hashem. But then I did it for a good reason. Every iota. But still, even though I did it for a good reason that hasn't yet been manifest. When is that going to be manifest? In the future. It's called the world to come. All of the stages that are about to unfold themselves and manifest themselves. So now, even for Hashem, there's the concept of Yagati or Matzati. Hashem is toiling all the time with creation, and since there's a good purpose behind all of it, so Hashem's also going to have a Metzio. And always the Metzio is what he finds. And the Metzio at the end is going to be more spectacular, a bigger surprise for God than even he planned. Because once more, the Metzia at the end is always more than even more that you had in mind. So that what is really going to happen at the end of days, we'll say, Mashiach and Tchias HaMeisim is even more spectacular than the Havdalah of Hashem saying to himself and knowing within himself that every iota of chaos is directed and has a purpose behind it, has an objective to it. But ultimately, ultimately the whole picture is going to come back together, and it will be so spectacular and such a good surprise that it'll even be a good surprise for Hashem. There are verses for this. It says there's a verse in the Tanakh that says that even for me it's a pele, that God says that what's going to be even for me is a wonder. So that wonderful experience of God at the end, that even for God it's going to be, but that's the hamtoko, that's the sweetening stage for Hashem. Right, so what we did now is we said that there's hamtoko, both the convert and the converter, the rabbi and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All of them have their own hachno avdol hamtoko, and when it all goes together, then the conversion is really 100% complete. But obviously, the surprise, even for God, comes when now with the convert being converted and becoming one with the Torah. And as we said, there's a reproduction and a pollination of one another, and what is born from that is such a great revelation of divinity that it's even a surprise, a pela, a wonder for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's born from that union. Right. The very last thing we'll say, wanted to do this also at length, this chapter 3, which just was really in short, is that Noach means to rest, and Noach also implies symmetry. It says, Noach masach chen b'nei Hashem. When you spell Noach backwards, it's chen, which is one of the 8 synonyms in the Hebrew for beauty, but it's the synonym which implies or means symmetric beauty. There are 2 examples in the whole Torah of someone either being good in God's eyes or bad in God's eyes, and each one is his name backwards. The Noach matzah chen b'nei Hashem is the good one. The Noach found favor in God's eyes, and chen is Noach backwards. And the other one is Vayihi b'chor Yehuda ra b'nei Hashem, the firstborn of Judah. Vayihi b'chor Yehuda, the b'chor Yehuda was ra, was evil in Hashem's eyes, and backwards is ra. The way it's explained, the Radak, for instance, explains a very simple scientific thing that in the pupil of the eye you see a little man. It's called ishon in Hebrew, and you can see a little man upside down, and then when it goes to the brain, it re-inverts, so you see him the right way. So that's why the pupil of the eye is called ishon. Ishon means a little man, because you see a little man. If you look there, it's a little man, but he's just upside down. Called Olam Hafuch Ra'iti. Then he once more goes around. spins around by the power of the mind. Right, so that's symmetry. Now, in modern science, if you want to say the concept, this now directly relates to this to Parsha. No, the concept which most invites itself and desires to become a ger tzedek, a righteous convert, is the concept of symmetry in science. The very breaking of it, science now says that the Big Bang is a breaking of initial symmetry, absolute symmetry. But even more recently, there's what's called the principle of symmetry, which states that the effect of any process, the effect is always more symmetric than the cause. Which means that things are going towards it. This is like a thermodynamic law. But in thermodynamics, you have entropy, that things are becoming like dispersed. But what does symmetry mean in science? Symmetry means that you turn something or you transform something in such a way that it still looks the same. That's the meaning of symmetry. If I have a square and I revolve it 90 degrees, so I'll see exactly the same thing. Even though something changed, something happened, but from my eyes, it looks exactly the same. I can't distinguish it at all. That's a symmetric transformation.
It's only visual?
So that's something about symmetry, that if it's only visible, we can say that sheker achen, maybe there's something deceitful about that it's only visual. Again, there's this whole idea, the symmetry idea, and that this is the crux now of conversion. The crux of conversion of secular knowledge, even exercise. From exercise to eating healthy to quantum mechanics, there's one common denominator, which is symmetry. Symmetry is like balance, equilibrium. This is the crux of what wants and what has to be converted and become part of the Torah. Symmetry theories. Now, as we said before, the very Big Bang itself is understood to be a break of some primordial symmetry. Symmetries are very necessary in all of quantum mechanics because they cancel out infinities which destroy the equations of science. So you always need symmetries. All of the mathematics of modern science is based upon group theory, which is symmetry theory. In Sefer Yetzirah, all of the mathematics of creation is permutation, which is nowadays in modern mathematics group theory. It's part of the very important thing to understand, that the foundation of all modern sciences is group theory, and group theory is the same as permutation theory. And permutation theory is exactly Sefer Yetzirah, that if you have so many stones, which means so many letters, you can build so many houses. So if I have 7 stones, which means 7 letters, like there are 5,040 permutations. That's as far as it goes, from 1 to 7 in Sefer Yetzirah. But how permutations work and how they're also transformations, permutation transformations, that is group theory. And group theory is the foundation nowadays of all modern science. And it's all, once more, it's all, the bottom line, it's all based on symmetry. It means it's all based on Noach. And just like everything comes from symmetry, now the new thing, the newer thing, is that everything goes to symmetry. So what does it sound like? It sounds like everything comes from the dust and everything returns to the dust. We read this Shabbos and Brachos. You are dust and you will return to dust. So if dust for us represents Ephes, 0, symmetry is like a 0. Lifnei echad, before 1. There's an expression in Sefer Yetzirah, before 1, what do you count? Lifnei echad ma'ata sofer. Me'efes v'tohu nechshevu lo. There's a verse in Isaiah that Ephes and Tohu go together. Me'efes v'tohu nechshevu lo. Ephes is 0. if this is a symmetric number, a palindrome.
Infinity is an 8, which is symmetrical.
Okay. That's a modern convention. We give a modern way of writing it. In any event, this is a whole tremendous topic by itself. I just wanted to make these 2 points, that nowadays, symmetry, there are thousands of books on symmetry if you want to read about symmetry. Because everybody knows that symmetry is the bottom line, is the mechanam shutav, the common denominator of all science and of all secular things, much more from eating healthy into doing exercise into everything. And it's all Noach. And it's all much more like the verse that says it all comes from the dust and all returns to the dust. It's all coming from symmetry and it's all returned. Noach. It's all coming from symmetry, it's all returning to symmetry. And with entropy, it's like everything is becoming disorganized, tohu. But now there's something about entropy itself, which is the more it's tohu, it's just chaotic in a deep way. It's like we were saying before about Hashem. That deep down, in breaking the vessels, there's an intention. There's something on the one hand, breaking the vessels is breaking a primordial symmetric state. On the other hand, there's something about entropy in and of itself, that it's going towards symmetry, because it's going towards a common denominator of nothing. Everything is from nothing, and everything goes back to nothing. So it's all nothing. It says that Hashem created the world something from nothing, in order that tzaddikim, which is va'amech kulam tzaddikim, the Jewish people, we're all tzaddikim, makes the reality return from something to nothing. Without destroying reality, but just in its consciousness to return to a state of nothingness. There's we'll conclude with another very beautiful thing. It says, also a relatively modern discoverable, say, amongst psychologists and scientists, that many, this has been examined and documented, that kids, this is important for education, especially for mothers, that kids that grow up in a symmetric home. Symmetric home means that the rooms are symmetric, not weird angles like nowadays in modern architecture. You can have all kinds of strange architectural forms. A child, this child psychology, a child that grows up in simple square or rectangular rooms has much more settledness and tranquility of soul. He's in a state of rest and security, feels safe and secure. Much more than if you grow up in a room that has like some fancy architectural design to it. Just keep your rooms and your lifestyle simple and symmetric. And your children will be, so why is this so beautiful, this idea? Why am I saying it at the end? Because this is mamash noach. Noach means a state of rest. And it also implies symmetry. So this is exactly now what this modern theory explains. That if a person grows up with symmetry, or maybe even at a later age, if you want to mellow out and be more tranquil, so symmetry and being in a symmetric situation, even a house or room, gives rest and a feeling of safety and security. And you'll never worry anymore about your parnosa, where it's going to come from, or anything else. You'll never have any worries whatsoever. Just make sure that the rooms are symmetric. Then everybody will feel good. So that's Noach. As we said before, if we try to reach the common denominator of all of the different topics and activities that we would want to convert, so those that are convertible, those goyim that are convertible are the ones that possess symmetry to them. Those pieces of knowledge or pieces of souls, yet un-Jewish souls that are potentially the converts, they at some level have this potential symmetry to them, which is Noah. That's why all has to do with Noach. But Noach matza chen b'nei Hashem. Apparently is asymmetric, the other one. B'chor Yehuda, ra b'nei Hashem. Means to collapse over, it's not stable. Ra also means that it breaks apart, it's not stable. Has no stability to it, no rest to it. Okay, so with this we'll conclude, and now we can have the questions.
I would just make one request. If we can keep the questions, the first layer of questions on topic, which probably the questions will come to Rabbi Ginsburgh about all sorts of things, or might come, so maybe we stay on topic with people who came to the topic and sort of clarify some things that came out here, and then successively outside suggestions. So go ahead. Yes,
Maybe you wanted to take the questions. Manas?
I just want to comment, the Noach, the subtleness, the letters are also like Shakar and Emes, the two letters are very subtle, and air is not stable.
Right, the way the letters are. Right, that's good. It says that that's the difference between Emet and Sheker. If the letter of Sheker are not stable at the bottom, the letters of Emet are. So it's the same thing Noach and Ev. Right.
Okay, before you mentioned that we try not to reduce numbers to the Misper Katan, but we know that Chaysom Shal Kadosh Baruch HaEmes, and we do reduce it to the number 9, which seems to be a perfect number.
Very good. That was a saying or a chiddush which was before the Arizal, but it's quoted, so that's an exception.
Okay.
But it's a pre-Arizal word. That word of 9, of things reducing to 9.
The Rav mentioned that there are some poskim that talk about if somebody has a Jewish father and a non-Jewish mother,
Yeah.
that person should make some effort to try to.
To influence him to convert.
I'd like to know if what sources you have for that.
Again, it's in Even HaEzra, the Shulchan Aruch, it's the Bash, the Beis Shmuel.
Could you?
Exactly the Simon I don't remember right now offhand, but it's there.
Could
Everybody
I
knows
read
it.
Shmuel after the Shulchan because I'm interested. I mean, could you be able to if I brought it to you after the?
You can write an email. You can write to our internet site. Bali Nedra will answer. Obviously, this is a very, very relative, pertinent question nowadays. If we should make some, again, it's not a forceful influence, but just a positive suggestion to a child who has a Jewish father and a non-Jewish mother, that maybe you should learn about Yiddishkeit. Maybe you'll want to come to Yiddishkeit.
If Hashem is revealed to the angels, but concealed to man, what do they see that we don't see? Or what's blocking us that's not blocking them?
But since they don't have the same mind power to incorporate and to realize what they're seeing, so it doesn't bother them. For us, it would totally knock us out. That's what it says. Because our mind is more developed. Yes.
I do yoga, and I don't think of it as anything other than stretching exercises. So
Are they symmetric or not? They're asymmetric.
So I mean, she does use these Indian names, and I don't even give any.
Again, it's the
But
word
it's
is a
because,
makif once more. As soon as somebody says kosher yoga, or we're just going to do the exercises from it, as soon as that name is mentioned, it's just like saying that we're not going to do kosher Christianity. Because yoga is a Veda Zohar, it's a religion. And most of the exercises are bowing down to the sun, or other actual worship exercises.
But I don't
Yoga
have
is
that
two
in
types of exercise in yoga. It's either bowing down, worshipping something, it's mamash Veda Zohar, or it's imitating an animal, like becoming a leopard, or becoming an eagle, or something else. Which is also not the Yiddish. The closest thing in Yiddishkeit is to say Perek Shira, and identify with all the animals.
So if
sing
someone
their
wants to do
songs.
those exercises.
So I'd say that this is the perfect example. This is the classic example that it has to be converted.
I don't really get how you convert it.
First, you have to be an authorized rabbi to do it. That's number one. It means that you have to know where it's coming from. You have to be able to distinguish exactly what's the Avodah Zorah in it. If there's to be able to abstract the exercise, what it does for the body, what's good about it. Ideally, you have to find something in the Torah. This is something we didn't say before. The ideal process of conversion, say, now Ruth is coming to be converted. So Naomi has to see something Jewish about her in her character. She's still a non-Jew, but again, it's called Ger Shenit Gayer. So it's not just that it's a nice guy that wants to convert, but since it's a Ger, the person that's converting has to feel something Yiddish about this neshama. Now, what does it mean for an exercise, or for any part of knowledge? Once more, there has to be some sense that this relates to the Torah. It was always a part of the Torah, and now it's just coming back to its origin. What does that mean for an exercise? First of all, it means that there are exercises that can be derived straight from the Torah. Whereas an exercise should have a meaning to it, and should maybe have some prayer together with it from the Torah. It should lend it. Let's go. The best thing is a melody. In meditation, we'll call it meditational aids. There are three levels before the meditation proper, which are physical motions. That the early Mekubalim did it, especially with head motions, breathing exercises, and song. And then the essence of the meditation. Once more, there are three aids to meditation: physical exercise, breathing, and singing. And that's from bottom up. The lowest is the physical exercise, higher than that is the breathing, higher than that is the singing. And then one enters into the realm of the called Atzilut, of the meditation proper. There are exercises straight out of the Ramak in Sefer HaPardes, but so they're mostly head exercises, moving the head in different directions. There are several exercises from the Arizal proper that go together with prayer, the most important of which goes together with the prayer Ana B'Koach. So, as we said before, to be a rabbi that's doing a conversion, first of all, you have to be a rabbi. It means you have to know things like this already in the Torah. Then you'll be able to feel if this has a shaykhness. Once more, if you'll never be able to convert anything in yoga if you don't have at least a small repertoire, just like a repertoire of songs. If you don't have a small repertoire of exercises that are coming from, that you didn't learn from yoga at all, that are coming straight from the Torah, then you get some sense of what the Torah means when what exercises, what's more a symmetric Torah exercise, we'll call it. Then, once more, if you're this authority, you can maybe be able to abstract things from other places. The first thing is never to believe that he has something which there's nothing like it in Yiddishkeit. That's already Avodah Zorah. As we said before, Yiddishkeit has everything in it. From exercise to eating healthy to everything. It has in it. But it doesn't mean there's no more sparks to attract that belong to it. So you have to know where it's already there. And then there are affinities. Then you can find the affinity to something else now has an affinity to something that I already know about in the Torah. Then you can connect it. That's again, to do a conversion, it's not a simple thing. But the women that are doing these exercises, yoga is exercise, so I don't really think that anyone is able to do the conversion process. But that's why it's hard to understand what it means. It has to begin first with something Yiddish, 100% Yiddish, like it in the Torah. Then you can identify or feel the affinity between different things and know how you can take out certain things and convert them, Yiddishify them.
What's the status of Avram's, the 6 sons that he sent off to the east? In terms of, they say the Sweden of Yiddishkeit went to the east and...
So it says he gave them names of the impure names, which either means names of impure spiritual energies, or names even of something which has some goodness to it, but it can be used in an impure context. Shemotuma, but that's the phrase that he gave them impure names.
So is it proper to think that some aspects of Yiddishkeit came to
So we said that there are many stages in history that things fell off from the source. We said that's what God is regretting. His first stage of Achna. But from the breaking of the vessels to the primordial sin of Adam, and also this also can be a stage of Abraham sending off his Shemot Tumah to the east.
You articulated the beauty of the Ein zero, but in resonant field physics we work with the unity and infinity. Can you kind of like address unity and infinity a little?
Well, it's even in a coordinate system, there's what's called infinite points. The end of any coordinate in any direction. So in the Kabbalah, these infinite points are called omakim. It's called the depth of the south. The depth of the south means going south infinitely, until you reach the infinite point of the south. But even in the mathematics of modern science and physics, the infinite points in all directions meet. Once more, if you go to infinity, in any direction, it's a mathematical thing, it's not a physical thing. But mathematically, the infinite points are one, meet. All of the Omakim, the 10 Omakim, called the 10 days of Tshuva, so they all meet, they all come together as unity. So definitely there's a relation between. We know that Hashem's light is called Or Ein Sof, the infinite light. And even the word light itself equals infinity, Ein Sof. When you say Or Ein Sof, so you're just repeating the same number twice. So for us, infinity is very big, but in order to begin to create the world, there has to be a contraction. Because so long as the infinity is revealed, there's no place for finite reality. That's just like it does say in physics, that there's many affinities that do not allow for the laws of physics to operate. So you have to get rid of those infinities, also through symmetry. So there's something very, very holy about infinity, that is Hashem's infinite light, and it's absolutely one. But but also to create finite reality, it has to disappear. That's called the secret of the Tzimtzum. The infinite light has to disappear. It's there, it's still here, it's even stronger than before, but you don't see it.
Yeah, you mentioned on the cross. Can you actually give a good word about the cross during meditation or something?
Okay, do you know how to do Yichud Afifa? No? But I have to show one of the men, and then they can show it to the women. But the Kitvei Arizal, this is the basic exercise. But anyone that wants to begin to do exercise according to the Torah must begin with this exercise. It's from the Arizal. It's called Yichud Afifa. It's called levitation. How the Yichud, the unification of the really flying, but it's levitation. That's why the Arizal explains. And it's based upon everything has to come from someplace in the Torah. It's based on the vision of Isaiah, of the 2 fiery angels on either side of the divine throne. And each of them have 6 wings to them, and it says, B'shtayim yichaseh panav, b'shtayim yichaseh raglav, b'shtayim yofev. 2 wings they cover the face, with 2 wings they cover the legs, and with 2 wings they fly. And he said, the Arizal says that this is the kavanah of the taking each one of the 6, of the 7 names, that each name possesses 6 letters, and dividing them into 3 twos, like Ana Bekoach. So Ana Bekoach is the 2 wings that cover the face, and then Gedulat Yamincha is the 2 wings that cover the feet, the legs, and Tatir Tzurah are the 2 wings that fly. It's a very simple, but it's a very deep, and also it requires a lot of inner control, both of stretching, contraction, and relaxation of the muscles. That the concept of covering the face is called the holy sense of shame, a bullshit. Like Moshe Rabbeinu covers his face, and when he's ashamed to see the Shekhinah, a bride covers her face at the chuppah. So the covering of the face is called the principle of busha. Covering the feet is the principle of tzniut. Tznius, modesty, which is called hatznei alechet. Modesty is a function of the feet. Busha is a function of the face. Boshet panim. Tzniut is a function of the feet, of the legs. And then b'shtayim yofev, the actual flying, the 2 wings that fly, that's the Arizal explains that is the passion of the heart. That's now able to express itself. It's called chukah. So the 3 key words are busha, tzniut, chukah, which when added together equal the highest climax of the Song of Songs, which is Maya fitu mana amta avabatanugim. How beautiful and how pleasant are you, the love of delights. So once more, this lends itself exactly to a very, very simple exercise. That we only have 2 hands, but our 2 hands have to represent all 6 wings of the fiery angels. And first, it's Ana, and it goes according to Ana B'Koach, and it's Ana B'Koach. The Ana B'Koach, it repeats itself 7 times. The Ana B'Koach is covering the Ana is the right side of the face, the right eye on the right side of the face, the B'Koach is the left, and then the Ana B'Koach Gedulat Yamincha is the 2, covering the 2 knees, we'll call it. The angels don't have knees that bend. They're straight-legged. And then the last 2 letters of each of the names is called Tatir Tzurah, which is just a motion of flying upward, just raising the 2 hands. And it is done symmetric. Once want to say absolutely symmetric exercise, and it's very simple. It uses probably all of the muscles of the body. And at the very end, it says to Rapena Kanfei, and this is in Yechezkel, not in Isaiah, that you have to lower the hands very, very slowly until they reach the thighs. So you can imagine, even if I didn't demonstrate it, you can imagine it yourself. After a very simple demonstration, it's very simple to do, but it's if you do it in shul tomorrow morning, then you'll see what happens.
Which reminds me, it is Rosh Chodesh, it's 10:30, all you good folks get home and get to bed. Rabbi, thank you so much for speaking with us.
The Fabrengen's about to start, though.
What?
The Fabrengen's about to start.
This is base Breslov, there's
Rosh Chodesh Fabrengen.
no drinking in Breslov. Thank you everybody for coming, and anyone wants to speak to the Rabbi privately, please email him in Israel.
Thank you very much.
Let me make one comment. If you want to have a copy or hear the whole lecture again, email me at yahudashsugar@yahoo.com. I'll send you a link to the broadcast all over the world. This is a live online broadcast, and you'll be able to see that broadcast.
Spell Yehuda with an H?
Yehuda Sugar without the H at the end of the Yehuda. Regular spelling.
Thanks to Yehuda for the whole evening. Lingers a little bit. You can ask the urgent question. Remember the urgent question.
Thanks very much.
Fire of minion.
And I have full beard, and so look rather naked without it.
Yes.
Rabbi Miller.
Yeah.
So baseball can be converted, right? Baseball's symmetrical. Most sports are.
a class on baseball.
Right. Do you have a class on baseball? Where is it online? You have a class on baseball? I'd like to hear.
If there was symmetry, so what was the symmetry made of? What was it? What was it? Was it an object? Was it a letter? What was
Even
it?
in infinity, there's a concept of light which ascends infinitely higher and enters into itself. Maybe called introversion versus extroversion, still within infinity. It's a perfect state of balance, but they actually consider.
So it's a Kabbalistic or physics, quantum physics concept?
In the sun, physically, there's a level of the sun that the light, because of gravity, is directed inward and the core of the sun. There's a level from this level on that the light goes into space. So it's a very much more, this is a perfect example of the parallel from physics that exactly about the infinite light, that there's light that goes inward and light that goes outward, that before the initial gravity.
But the fact that nothing was created,
Okay, new
and
for bringing,
before
new.
that there was some image of what it was.
The beginning of creation, once more, this is why they explain nowadays in physics, is just a point, a breakage or a one moment of asymmetry.
Planck time?
If you want to. I'll ask him.
Is quantum physics explainable in Kabbalah? Or is Kabbalah compared to quantum?
Hashem gave us quantum physics, just like He gave us the television to use for Yiddishkeit. He gave us quantum physics to be deep understanding of the
Thank you.
It's a tool that can help understand.
To learn much more, it becomes ultimately becomes a marriage.
Right now,
And each one
but headed to
pollinates, as we said the other.
Thanks.